Seeing as we're short one body of having a quorum, I'm going to wait 15 minutes for the fourth commissioner. If he hasn't shown it by 6:15, we probably will have to cancel this get-together due to lack of a quorum. I appreciate your patience. We have one who's supposed to be on the way, but who knows where he's coming from. Selma Planning Commission meeting for January 28th, 2019 has now been called to order. Commissioner Curry, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Sure. Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have roll call, please?
Okay. Commissioner Curry,
Here.
Commissioner Garcia,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
and Chairman Niswander.
Here. Thank you. Good evening, members of the commission, staff, ladies and gentlemen. The Planning Commission is now in session. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting are in the entryway at on the table by the door. You can help us expedite tonight's hearing by following these rules and procedures. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard when it is your turn to speak. Come to the podium, state your name and address clearly for the record. The applicant and those in favor of the application will speak first, then those opposed to the application will be heard. After that, the applicant will be given time for rebuttal, and if necessary, those opposed will be given the opportunity to serve rebut. We ask that you limit your presentations to 5 minutes or less. This should be more than enough time for a well-organized presentation. The chair reserves the right to limit testimony and will exercise that right in the interest of others who have business before the commission. After all the speakers have been heard, the hearing will be closed. At that point, additional comments from the public will not be allowed unless one of the commissioners asks the hearing be reopened. Finally, the commissioners will discuss the application, make motions, and vote to reach a decision. If you are not satisfied with the commission's decisions, you may be able to appeal the decision to the city council. Appeals must be filed within a specified period of time after today's hearing, and you can check with staff for the procedures to follow in filing your appeal. Please make sure your mobile phones and pagers are on mute. Thank you. Any commissioner who has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing or voting on the matter. If one of you guys recuses yourself, we're dead in the water. Oral communications, notices to the public. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission regarding any item over which the commission has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Items raised will be referred to the chairperson for review. Members of the public shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. I've already told you you can have 5. Consideration of a resolution recommending that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit application filed by Sonny Salinas of Salinas Recycling for the purpose of permitting the relocation of an existing recycling facility on the same site at 3706 McCall Avenue, Selma, California, and notice of exemption regarding the same. Do we have a director's report? Are you radioactive?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman. We have before you the staff report and resolution for conditional use permit 2018-32. The purpose of this application is to conduct a public hearing to consider the requested entitlement. The application intends to relocate and improve an existing recycling facility. The facility will require approval from the California Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery, a signed permit from the City Planning Department, and a building permit from the City Building and Safety Department. The subject property is accessed by East Dynamo Boulevard to the north and McCall Ave to the west, and is located within the Selma Plaza Commercial and Retail Complex, which includes existing retail stores and a surface parking lot. The existing Salinas recycling facility is 840 square feet and was conditionally approved on April 1, 2009. The applicant is requesting to have a similar facility on the same site. The size and number of storage containers will remain the same. The applicant is proposing to relocate the existing facility that will require review and approval by city departments of planning, building, engineering, fire, and police. I've outlined section 11-16-5 of the Selma Municipal Code for the Planning Commission in granting a conditional use permit shall find the following findings. A, that the site for the proposed use is adequate in size and shape to accommodate said use in all yards, spaces, walls, and fences, parking, loading, landscaping, and other features required by this section to adjust said use with land and uses in the neighborhood. Section B, that the site for the proposed use relates to streets and highways adequate in width and pavement to carry the quantity and kind of traffic generated by the proposed use. Section A and Section B, the applicant meets these findings. The site proposed is an existing unimproved vacant lot within the Selma Plaza Commercial Complex. The applicant is proposing to improve the site, providing paved parking, fencing, and screening as detailed in the site plan exhibit. The site is bordered by a block wall separating the commercial zone from the adjacent residential zone. Section B is met by the site is accessed by East Dynamo Boulevard to the north, which is classified as an arterial street with a 100-foot right-of-way, and McCall Ave to the west, which is classified as an arterial, also with a 100-foot right-of-way. These streets will also provide access to and from the site and are adequate in width and pavement type to carry the quantity and kind of traffic generated by the proposed use. Section C, that the proposed use will have no adverse effect on property within a 300-foot radius of the permitted use thereof. In making this determination, the Planning Commission shall consider the proposed location of improvements on the site, vehicular ingress, egress, and internal circulation, setbacks, height of buildings, walls and fences, landscaping, outdoor lighting, signs, such other characteristics as will affect surrounding property. Staff's finding is that the site proposed is an existing unimproved vacant lot. The applicant is proposing to improve the site and will be in full compliance with all applicable development standards. This includes 1, customers will have paved off-alley parking, ensuring vehicular circulation throughout the shopping center. 2, the operation is set back 61 feet from the property line. 3, lighting will be hooded to prevent excessive light pollution. 4, signs and locations will be approved by planning prior to installation. 5, the recycling operation will be fenced and screened for security and aesthetic purposes. Section D, that the conditions stated in the resolution are deemed necessary to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare. The findings staff found, the conditions stated in this resolution are deemed necessary to protect the health, safety, and general welfare. 1, mitigation of noise will be controlled by limited hours of operation, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., in the existing block wall separating commercial and residential land use. 2, applicant shall maintain an agreement written with adjacent commercial operators for use of restroom facilities for staff. 3, paved parking will control dust from migrating off-site. 4, lighting will be hooded to prevent light pollution. 5, posted signs per City of Selma standards will prohibit loitering. Section E, that the proposed use is consistent with the Selma General Plan and applicable land use component plans, which may establish criteria for approval and/or standards for development. The findings, the proposed use is consistent with the Selma General Plan. The site plan is compliant with all applicable development standards. This project meets the criteria for a Class 2 categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA Guidelines 15302. The Class 2 categorical exemption has been prepared for the project. This project has been noticed of this hearing tonight on January 18, 2019, and was published in Selma Enterprise and mailed to property owners within 300 feet radius of the project site. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve resolution with conditions of approval based on the findings in your packet. This ends staff's report.
Thank you, Aaron. Does the applicant wish to add anything to the staff report? Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in favor of this application? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing, and we're going to bring it back to the commission for discussion and a motion. Okay.
I have a question, please. On where it says applicant shall maintain a written agreement with the adjacent commercial operators for use of restroom facilities, do we have a copy of that, or who's going to verify that that is done?
Thank you. Yes, we do have a signed copy of that agreement already in place.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Garcia.
I have a question as well. At a previous meeting, it was discussed that the site has water. As I was passing through the parking lot one day, I noticed that their water supply was a single hose bib on an existing commercial building and 5-gallon buckets that they were filling. Is that going to be sufficient for the City of Selma, or do they need to provide their own water service to their property?
We have not required them to have a separate water meter, essentially. So whatever agreement they have with their landlord is what we would uphold.
The parking mentioned in here, as I understand it from previous conversations, the entire lot will not be paved. Is that correct?
Correct. The entire vacant lot will not be paved. It's just the identified section of the identified project
Okay.
will be paved.
Are there a specific required number of parking spaces?
Specifically for this use, it's not a structure, so there's not an identified parking calculation in our municipal code for a recycling center. Based on the number of stalls and the square footage of the operation, even if we had a 200 square foot or 1 stall per 200 square feet, they would exceed that parking calculation.
I see.
We have a blanket standard for general commercial, which we could maybe qualify that standard under.
Based on your knowledge and your investigation of this application, is there currently sufficient lighting, or does more lighting need to be added to discourage people hanging around the area after dark?
Thank you for the question. There is lighting on the existing building. Whether or not that's adequate, that's kind of a conversation that is ongoing with police department and code enforcement. And that's a bigger discussion. This application is a doorway that we can see if further lighting is required in that area. But that is also a question. I don't know if the applicant wants to speak to if they want to add lighting to their site as well.
Well, I know one of the complaints from people that live in the area, in particular the apartment complex to the south of this site, one of their complaints was that there were people hanging around in the vicinity of this business after dark, and I understand safety is a concern. I don't recall, is there a block wall between the roadway there and the apartment complex?
I believe this is a gate and a fence in between these.
Pardon? Fence with a gate, but it's not a masonry fence. So the only masonry fence would be between
The mobile home park and
okay, there we go. Well, and maybe this is a question I need to ask the applicant. Sir, would you step forward, please? Mr. Salinas? Would you be willing to put some additional lighting in to cut down on the foot traffic around your business after dark?
We'll do what we can with the solar panels that we have. We don't have electricity out there as such. We don't need electricity.
So you don't have electrical service to the...
No, with the lights
to
that we
the
have
lot.
right now are located on the building.
Uh-huh.
We probably get some, with the owner's approval, some lights up on the building that would shine towards the area that we're proposing. But within our site itself, that's going to be all solar operated. So any lighting that would operate off of solar panels or solar batteries, generate through the day and then eliminate nighttime, that's no problem. Especially with today's
So
technology.
are you agreeable to provide some lighting to maybe even if it's additional to what you already have?
Yes, sir.
to cut-
Like I said, as long as there's solar lighting, we have no problem at all.
Okay.
The issue where we're stuck in the water is dealing with PG&E, which is that's a
Okay.
stop.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to move forward. How about you folks? Somebody want to make a motion? It's the one titled resolution. Do we have a number for this resolution?
My apologies for that. We will have a resolution number added to this.
Mr. Chairman, what we can do is, the resolution number will be provided through the city clerk's office. If a maker of a motion wishes to set forth their motion, they could just read the statement at the top of the resolution, if it's to adopt, and then we'll make sure that the number is put in, as well as the CUP number.
I move to accept the resolution, Planning Commission of the City of Selma, California, making findings and approving conditional use permit for the establishment and operation of a recycling center at McCall Avenue, Selma, California, 93662, APN 358-380-41, and notice an exemption reg regarding the same.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Would you inform the applicant? Um, Oral communications. Oral communications, notices to the public. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission regarding any item over which the commission has a jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the chairperson for review. Members of the public shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. I have a question for city manager, and this comes from the Streets and Traffic Commission. Yes, or Traffic and Streets. The intersection of Young Street, Thompson, and Rose. If you're going northbound on Young Street, you want to make a left-hand turn onto Rose Avenue. The schoolyard fence inhibits your visibility to southbound traffic on Thompson. Do we know yet if the city engineer has perused that intersection and determined, is it time to put a stop sign southbound on Thompson at Rose?
Mr. Chair, I don't know at this time, but I can get back to you
Okay,
and
thank
the
you.
commission.
Any other traffic and streets concerns you want to bring up?
I've been contacted by a few citizens regarding the east-west Barbara Street at McCall not having turn lanes. I looked at it the other day and I noticed that there's not a whole lot of space there. And putting in turn lanes, signaled turn lanes would probably eliminate a street parking for the house on the corner. But it really is a traffic jam area, especially in the morning. I work at Selma High School. I have a lot of kids that come in late stating that they were caught up in traffic at that intersection.
East-West Barber?
This is Barbara, yeah.
Barbara.
Barbara at McCall.
Thank you.
Any other traffic and streets issues? I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion and a second. Meeting is adjourned.